And when the lights return on stage, the Reverend Thomas Dean, Spud, Skeet and Curvey all are standing there in the barn, silent, until in walks Owen Burke with the bike and the broken bell. Owen Burke: "So, it's you! Have you come here to ask my forgiveness?" Forgiveness. For what? What would I need to be asking for forgiveness for? For breaking me bike. You're the one that smashed the bell, and now you're here. What are you going to be doing while you're here? I'm here to chase the ghost. The ghost? What ghost? The ghost in the barn. Is there a ghost in the barn? And off he flies with the bike out of the barn at speed that you wouldn't ever see. And in walks Paddy, the Paddy farmer boy, standing there in the barn. And as Father Dempsey opens up a prayer book and utters the word from the book, "I cast out in the name of Jesus all evil spirits from this barn." Suddenly up on the roof of the barn there's a pigeon. And the pigeon takes off, and in doing so, an egg drops straight on the head of the Reverend Thomas Dean, which ensues Spud, Curvey, Skeet and Paddy to run the hellskates out of the barn, screaming that the ghost has thrown an egg at the Reverend Thomas Dean. After Thomas Dean straightens himself up and washes his face and convinces Paddy and the rest of the crowd that there's no ghost, the ghost has been sent, and that the Holy Spirit was indeed the one that sent the egg, he makes his way to Mrs. Dempsey's house, as he remembers he has a sick visit to do. As he approaches the door of Mrs. Dempsey, he knocks and waits. The door opens. "Who have I?" "It's the Reverend Dean." "Oh, hello. Hello. What do you want?" says Mrs. Dempsey. "Hello, I'm the very Reverend Thomas Dean. You said that before. I'm waiting for Father Andrew." "I know. Father Andrew's at a council meeting, and I'm here today in his placement to come and say hello." "Well, hello. Hello. Would you like to come in?" Okay, come in then. Dean, was it?" "The Reverend Thomas Dean." Mrs. Dempsey: "I can't hear a word, you know. I can't hear a single thing. Hold on." She takes her hearing aid out and adjusts the device and puts it back in her ear. Reverend Thomas: "I'm sorry for your trouble." Mrs. Dempsey: What are you saying then?" Reverend Thomas: "I'm Reverend Thomas Dean." Mrs. Dempsey: "Who?" Reverend Thomas: Mrs. Dempsey: "I don't say that we've met before." Reverend Thomas: "I've been asked to call in on yourself by Father Andrew, as he's had to attend an important function." Mrs. Dempsey: "An important what?" Reverend Thomas: "It doesn't matter, Mrs. Dempsey. Have you time for a chat? And a cup of tea, maybe?" Mrs. Dempsey: "Reverend who you were saying?" Reverend Thomas Dean. "What parish you from?" Mrs. Dempsey said. Reverend Thomas: "I'm from America." "Ah, that tells me a lot. And come in, sit down. You're from America, She points to the armchair. Reverend Thomas sits down. "I can't stay long, as I've got some paperwork to do back in the office at the presbytery. So, if we could make it as brief as possible, Mrs. Dempsey." Mrs. Dempsey: "Somewhat paperwork." "What sort of work is that, then?" Mrs. Dempsey says. Reverend Thomas: "Time-consuming work, Mrs. Dempsey." Mrs. Dempsey: "I see. Well, then, you've no time for a visit, then, have you? Is that what you're trying to tell me? You've no time to sit and talk and have a cup of tea and have a chat?" Reverend Thomas: No. It's not that I haven't time. It's just that I have some very important matters to attend to." Mrs. Dempsey. Well then, if you've so many important things to do, why did you even bother to call in and say hello? Reverend Thomas. I'm sorry. Reverend Thomas. I really am, Mrs. Dean. Ms. Dempsey, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean it to sound the way it sounded. Mrs. Dempsey. You're sorry, are you? You tell me you're sorry, but what are you sorry for? Reverend Thomas. He sits down and looks up at the ceiling. You see, the way it is, Mrs. Dempsey, I'm just visiting from America, and I'm just doing what Father Andrew asked me to do, and one of the jobs was to call in to see how you were. Mrs. Dempsey. So you're a Catholic then? I'm a priest, said Timothy. But a Catholic priest, I mean, said Mrs. Dempsey. Of course I'm a Catholic priest, Mrs. Dempsey. Where did you do your schooling? Reverend Thomas. In America. Mrs. Dempsey. What part of America? Reverend Thomas. Florida. Mrs. Dempsey. Well, no, I do declare. Do you happen to know John Meehan and his family from Florida? Reverend Thomas. Florida's a big place. Mrs. Dempsey. Well, sure, it might be, but Big John would get around. Sure, you must have bumped into him over there. Reverend Thomas. I can't say I've met him, Mrs. Dempsey. Mrs. Dempsey. Maybe it's just as well then. Reverend Thomas. Why is that? Mrs. Dempsey. Because there's no such a person. I've just made it up, you see. You see, that's one of my little trick questions, just to confuse the learned and wise, who think that they know everything. Reverend Thomas. Oh, the learned and wise. Well, your knowledge, that is beyond logic, Mrs. Dempsey. Sure, maybe I should go back outside and knock the door again so we can be introduced properly this time. What do you think? Hold on a minute. Maybe if I go back outside, you'll be there to meet me. So let's just forget I even said that, Mrs. Dempsey. You might be from America, but you've nothing over me. I know many people in America, and as a matter of fact, the O'Driscolls, the Hannaburys, the O'Briens, and the Christian Fellowship of East Florida often write to me once a month, not to mention the 4 young educated and very well-known drama students who attend the Florida State University, who have asked me to read some of their plays. Reverend Thomas. Oh, I'm dumbfounded. And very impressed, Mrs. Dempsey. Mrs. Dempsey. And so you should be. Do you drink tea? Reverend Thomas. Is this another one of your trick questions, Mrs. Dempsey? Mrs. Dempsey. No, I'm in all honesty now, Reverend Martin. Thomas. Reverend Thomas. Mrs. Dempsey. Yes, he was one of the apostles, wasn't he? Reverend Thomas. What? Mrs. Dempsey. Thomas. He was one of the apostles. Reverend Thomas. That's my name. I know it is, but, he still doubted, didn't he? Well, my name is Reverend Thomas Dean. That's my name. I'm not called Martin or Thomas. It's the very Reverend Thomas Dean. Mrs. Dempsey. Have you ever been in the ring? Reverend Thomas. What do you mean? Mrs. Dempsey. A boxer. Reverend Thomas. No, why do you ask? Mrs. Dempsey. It's just the shape of your nose. It looks as if it's been battered a bit, if you know what I mean. Reverend Thomas. I'm not a boxer. I do drink tea, and I can help you. Any further, I'd be most happy to answer any more questions. Mrs. Dempsey. It's not often I get the opportunity to use my good delf, so just bear with me for a few minutes while I get it down from the cupboard. It's so nice to have you here in my home. As you're visiting from America, I must get only the best china. She dives into the cupboard and gets out the best china that you'd ever seen. She takes a few cups and a few saucers. Reverend Thomas. Oh, no, don't go to any trouble, Mrs. Dempsey. Mrs. Dempsey. Now, how do you like your tea? Black, white, or without sugar? Reverend Thomas. White, with 2 sugars, thank you. Mrs. Dempsey. Isn't it coffee you drink in America? Reverend Thomas. I've grown accustomed to tea since coming back over here. Mrs. Dempsey. Give me a second to fetch a bowl of sugar. Next door. Things are a bit tight. Reverend Thomas. It doesn't matter, Mrs. Dempsey. It doesn't matter. But on the way out the door, she already was going. She returns in a few minutes with a bowl of sugar. You know, Mrs. Dempsey, I could have taken the tea without sugar. I'm quite used to hardship myself. It wouldn't have been any trouble. I wouldn't have anyone coming into my house and talking about me when I wasn't here, or if I was here, that I couldn't even have a spoonful of sugar for the tea. He starts to look around the room, standing up and walking back and forward, checking out some old photographs that are hanging up. And then he is startled by a young lady coming into the room. Oh, hello. How are you? Deirdre Dempsey. See you. You're nothing but a black bastard. Reverend Thomas. I beg your pardon? Mrs. Dempsey returns into the situation. Oh, father, no, hush up now. It's the daughter, Deirdre. She's got a little problem. Don't you mind her, Reverend Thomas? Just last week she thought she was St. God help her and love her. Just pretend you don't hear at things she says. It's sad. Some of the locals call her strange, but she wouldn't hurt a fly. Now, Deirdre, off you go. And back to your room and have a rest, my love. She pushes her out the parlour. Reverend Thomas. Oh, the poor thing. Deirdre makes her exit. Mrs. Dempsey. It's not her fault, you know. It was the runaway horse that did it. Reverend Thomas. The what? The runaway horse that did it. Did what? The damage. Reverend Thomas. Oh, I see. Mrs. Dempsey. Oh, only for the soft ground in the bog. It's a great big hoof that went down. Right through her skull, you know. Reverend Teen. Thanks be to God it was a rainy day. Now sit yourself down and I'll get you the tea on. She puts a small shovel and a brush into her hands, and then she gets on her knees and she starts to sweep up the dust of the floor. And as she's sweeping up the dust, Reverend Thomas is looking at her. That was 2 sugars. Oh, yes, 2 sugars. It was. And you said it was white tea. Deirdre burst back into the room. 20 plus 1, isn't that now how you spell? Sit down at the back of the class. 24 times I said sit down. She points to Reverend Thomas. You little slug. You're nothing but a lump of dog droppings covered in black pudding sauce. If I have to raise me voice again... Mrs. Dempsey. Oh, I'm really very sorry about this, Reverend Dean. Deirdre, if you don't leave right away, I'll be forced to call the clinic. Not another word. Deirdre does an about face and walks straight out of the room, disappearing into thin air. Reverend Thomas. It's not funny, Mrs. Dempsey said. Reverend Thomas. I know, Mrs. Dempsey, but I can't help it. She gives me such a lift. It's not often I have people who talk to me like that. Mrs. Dempsey. Right now. Here's your tea, Reverend Dean. She pulls one small table from the nests that's under the big table and places it before him, serving him the tea. Oh, yeah. Mrs. Dempsey, it's a joy to be here today. And you've only the one daughter, then? Mrs. Dempsey pulls a chair and sits down beside the Reverend Thomas. Oh, excuse me. The tea is a bit hot. I'll just get a bit more milk, Father. Yes, the one daughter then, Mrs. Dempsey, you've just got the one? Oh, well, Father, the thing is, I have another girl who she went to America. Well, she got married. I've also got some over there as well. And they're finding it hard to get work, you know. I hardly ever hear from them except the odd Christmas card that they post. Tell me, Reverend Dean, whereabouts did you say you did your studying for the priesthood then? Reverend Thomas. Florida. Mrs. Dempsey. Oh, I know, but where? Near Tallahassee? Reverend Thomas. That's right, yeah, Tallahassee. Mrs. Dempsey. Sometimes my daughter sends me over a box of Florida oranges, you know. Reverend Thomas. Well, Mrs. Dempsey, it's getting late now, and it's already been too late. I think I could have overstayed the welcome. It's getting dark outside, and sure enough I'd better be on me way before Father Andrew returns from the meeting. Mrs. Dempsey. I know, that's what's frightening me. Reverend Thomas. There's nothing to be afraid of. In or out of the dark, in or out of the house. Mrs. Dempsey. I know, but it's the electric company. Sure, they've threatened to switch off me power, and sure, you know they have. Oh, I'd pay them if I could, Father, you know, but the pension, well, it's not due for another week, and what am I to do? Like, there's not even a candle in the house. Suddenly all the lights on the stage go out. There, you see now, didn't I tell you? The echoes of the voice. Deirdre's voice comes back in, screaming, "Another step and I'll shoot! Don't you take another step!" Reverend Thomas. I'm off. Goodbye. I hope everything works out for you both. During the time in the darkness, the set is rearranged to resemble the parlour in the presbytery, with Father Andrew's place. And as the lights return back on stage, Reverend Thomastine's back in the parlour at the presbytery, alone, sitting with his feet up. And just as he's starting to get comfortable, a knock comes to the door. Reverend Thomas, oh God, I wonder who that could be. He opens up the door. "Hello, can I help you?" The motorist standing there. "I'm on my way to a poor friend, Father, who's been in bed with his kidneys all week, and wouldn't you know it, I've just run out of petrol outside the very front door of the presbytery, and I saw the light on, so I thought to myself, maybe that's a godsend. Could you possibly lend me a few quid until I return? I'll make sure to drop it off now on the way back. It's important that I get to my friend. Like, he's in a desperate condition, Father, he is." Reverend Thomas. "Oh, I don't know. I've just give my last £1 to one of the parishioners to pay the electric bill. Is there no other way you can get to your friend's house tonight?" The motorist. "Oh, no, not at this time of night." Reverend Thomas. "Is there no one you could ring on the telephone?" The motorist. "Oh, I forgot to tell you. My friend's hard of hearing, and he doesn't have a phone as well, you know." Reverend Thomas. "Listen. All I've got is silver, small change in the poor box collection here. Is that okay? So you really must accept. That's all I have, and if you could bring it back at the first chance you get, because the money's accounted for, and I shouldn't really do this, you know. But you do look like you're a decent sort of a fella." So the Reverend Thomas he finds the poor box on top of the mantelpiece and opens it up and produces some small change out of the box and hands it over to the motorist, who doesn't waste time grabbing the money and turning his back. "Oh, thank you, Father, good night to you," and makes his exit. Reverend Thomastine sits back down in the armchair. Jesus wept. I wonder if our Lord himself had some people asking for money, and to be blessing barns and begs and chasing ghosts out. I wonder what Father Andre is, and if he's going to be much longer. Surely the golf game must be finished by now. Another knock to the door. I wonder who it could be this time. He opens up the door. "Hello, is there something I can do for you?" It's a drunk standing there. "Father, I'm so glad to see you." He can hardly stand. "I've missed the bus, Father. Missed the bus." Reverend Thomas. "It must be about closing time, I'd be saying, is it?" The drunk. "I know it's late, Father. Terribly sorry to trouble you, but I've got a wife who never believes a word I tell her, and if I was to walk home, I'd be there. Oh, well, if it'd take me home, it'd probably take me all night to get there, Father. But if I did walk home, you know, Father, if I did walk home, do you think she'd listen to me? I wonder, Father, if he couldn't spare me a room for the night. Or a couple of bob for a taxi, maybe." "Last time I was late, she said something like she'd square me out, Father, on the floor." "She did, you know. She hit me, she hit me with a frying pan, and there was I laid out on the floor, Father, with blood pouring from my head." Reverend Thomas. "We all have our crosses to carry here. I don't have any money, but you're welcome to sleep on the floor if you want. So come on in and lay yourself out there. He opens up the door and the drunk walks in and finds himself a spot on the floor. I'll never forget this, Father. Never forget this, Reverend Thomas. Come in and be at peace and get yourself some sleep. For I'm off to America tomorrow, and as far as I'm concerned, it's the last that I'll see of you. So just have a good night's sleep, the drunk. America? I've always wanted to go to America. How much would it cost for me to get there, Reverend Thomas? Well, a lot of money. Quite a lot of money. How much would that be? Because I've got a couple of pennies put away. Well, I'll tell you what, an awful lot. Somewhere between an awful lot and too much. Oh, I see, Reverend Thomas. I'll tell you what, if you get up early in the morning and get yourself down to the shore, maybe you could start swimming. Yeah, sooner or later you'll get there, and it'll cost you nothing if all goes well. And it'll save you a penny or two to get to America, the drunk. Oh, well, Father, you see, I don't think I'll bother to be quite truthful. Like, after all, I've got too many responsibilities. You know, too many things here to tie me down, like, for Reverend Thomas. Then I trust we won't be seeing you in America, the drunk. I suppose you're right there, Father, but someday, maybe, who knows, I'll get there someday. So maybe you could give me your address and I'll look you up when I get there, Father. Reverend Thomas, you do that. Or would you like to use my telephone now and call your good wife and get her to come and... Oh, Father, no, the good wife, she'll be fast asleep now. We wouldn't want to bother her. Well, get yourself on the floor, get your head down and sort yourself out tonight, all right? I have things to do and people to see and people to talk to. The drunk. Oh, well, maybe could we go for a walk, Father? Maybe could you take me home and explain to the wife? Just tell her, Father, that you found me and you seen me doing something good and decent out there, and you thought that maybe you could bring me back and explain to the good woman exactly, Father, exactly what I've been trying to do tonight. If you could get my drift, Father. You know, there's lots of things I could do, but Father, if you could do me this wee service, Father, I'd appreciate that. So Father takes him by the hand and walks him out of the presbytery, and as the door closes behind, the light switched off. When Father returns to the presbytery and turns on the light, he sits down again, back down in the empty armchair. And as he just gets comfortable, there's another knock comes to the front door. Reverend Thomas gets up. Right then, I've just about had it. That's just about enough. As he opens up the door very abruptly, he shouts, Look, I've got no money, and you'll just have to go somewhere else and see somebody else, and there's nothing I can do for you now, and there'll be nothing I can do for you the rest of the night or tomorrow. So goodbye, and don't be bothering me here at the door again. Okay. He almost shuts the door, but the firmer hand keeps it ajar, and the person at the door forces his way into the parlour. Just how do you think you are? Get out of this house. I'm the parish priest, Reverend Thomas Dean, and I'm telling you now, get out of the house or I'll call the police. And the person stands there and says, I take it you're the very Reverend Father Dean from America. Well, I'm bishop of this diocese. We haven't yet had the privilege to meet. Reverend Thomas. Oh, do come in, your lordship. Well, what a pleasure it is to meet you. I've heard so much about you. The bishop. Is that so? Reverend Thomas. Why, Father Andrew was just talking about you this morning, at the morning service he was. And then again at breakfast, and then before the meeting, before he went to the meeting. I'm intrigued, the bishop said. But it's not I'm here to talk about Father Andrew. It's about yourself. It's really about yourself. Well, what is your lordship? What is it? Well, you see, Father Andrew is it Dean? Can I call you Dean or Thomas? What can I call you? Well, you could call me. You could call me Thomas. Tom, actually, Tom, your lordship. Well, Tom, you see, I'm afraid Father Andrew's been called out to do some ministerial duties. I'm expecting him back very, very soon, if you get my drift, back into the duties he would normally be undertaking. And would you like a cup of tea? Just sit there, Tom, and I'll put the kettle on. Listen, now, I hope I'm not being too upfront, but the thing is, I'd like you to be staying on here at Drumshambo for a little while. And as the bishop returns with a cup of tea, he sits down and he looks at Tom and he says, the thing is, I've heard about the golf game today, and Father Andrew unfortunately was hit with a club on the forehead as well as a ball in the back of the head and run over with a buggy. And he'll be out of action for the next 4 weeks. And as you're the visiting priest from America, I would expect you to stay until Father Andrew is up and about again. Thank you very much. And if you need me at any time, give me a call. The bishop walks out of the room and Tom sits there aghast. The end.